Some fears are so common they feel universal, like fear of heights, spiders, cockroaches, or public speaking. So far, so good. But what about those fears that seem completely absurd at first glance? What if I told you some people panic at the sight of the color yellow? Or worse, they feel real anxiety just imagining peanut butter sticking to the roof of their mouth, or even fear something as natural as falling asleep. It may sound like a meme, but it's real. These phobias exist, they have names, and they impact people's lives in ways most of us can't even imagine. The effects can be so intense that they interfere with daily life, causing severe anxiety and even panic attacks. In this video, we're diving into 6 of the rarest and strangest phobias in the world. These are so oddly specific and random that you'll think twice before laughing at someone else's fear. And we're kicking things off with one that feels like a cruel joke in itself. Hippopotamonstrophobia, fear of long words. Yes, it's a real thing. And yes, the name of the phobia is part of the problem. The person fears long words. And the term for it is hippopotamonstrophobia. Come on, right? Sounds like a joke, but for those who suffer from it, there's nothing funny about it. This phobia triggers intense anxiety when faced with very long words, making reading difficult and, in some cases, even basic communication a challenge. People with this fear may experience extreme discomfort when reading academic texts, legal documents, or even common longer words. For some, just having to pronounce something complex can bring on symptoms like shortness of breath, shaking, or sweating. What seems like a minor discomfort can seriously affect someone's academic, professional, and social life. Some experts believe the phobia might be rooted in childhood trauma, like being mocked for mispronouncing a difficult word or feeling immense pressure to speak correctly in public. Fortunately, there are ways to treat it. Cognitive behavioral therapy, gradual exposure, and relaxation techniques can help reduce the fear and make reading less stressful. If you think that fear is strange, wait until you hear the next one. It can turn a simple snack into a full-blown nightmare. Xanthophobia, fear of peanut butter, sticking to the roof of the mouth. It may sound funny at first, but imagine living with a real fear of peanut butter sticking to the roof of your mouth. It's not the peanut butter itself that causes panic. It's the sensation of it getting stuck up there. That's the focus of Xanthophobia. Interestingly, this fear is more common in the US. Logically, peanut butter is practically a childhood staple. In other cultures, it might not even exist, or might surface with other sticky foods. For those who suffer from this phobia, that all too familiar texture can trigger intense anxiety, nausea, or even panic attacks. It's often linked to a deeper fear of choking, losing control of breathing, or gagging. Some people go as far as avoiding not only peanut butter, but any food with a similar thick or sticky texture, like caramel or dense spreads. This fear may start in childhood after a traumatic experience with food, or it could be amplified by generalized anxiety. The brain starts associating that sticky sensation with danger, and the body reacts accordingly, even if, rationally, the person knows there's no real threat. And it's not just at home. Eating with friends, attending parties, or even grabbing a quick snack in public can become stressful. Some people avoid social situations altogether just to steer clear of their phobia trigger. Like many specific phobias, treatment involves therapy, especially cognitive behavioral therapy, which helps reframe the emotional response to the trigger. In more severe cases, a psychiatrist may prescribe temporary anti-anxiety medication. Now this next one, I've actually had it myself. Thankfully, it passed. Somniphobia, fear of sleep. Sleep is a basic need, but for those with somniphobia, closing their eyes can be one of the scariest parts of the day. This phobia is an irrational and persistent fear of falling asleep or losing consciousness. I had this once. Right at that moment before falling asleep, I'd get scared and worry I might never wake up. Luckily, I no longer feel that way. Instead of being a time of rest, nighttime becomes a mental battlefield. People may fear not waking up, having vivid nightmares, losing control of their body, or even dying in their sleep. In many cases, these fears are fueled by past experiences, like sleep paralysis, chronic insomnia, or traumatic sleep-related events. Sufferers tend to avoid sleep at all costs. They stay awake until exhaustion hits, using distractions like TV, phones, or games, and may even develop late-night habits that disrupt their daily routine. This creates a vicious cycle. The more they avoid sleep, the worse their physical and mental state becomes, which only feeds the fear. Over time, sleep deprivation takes a toll. Irritability, memory lapses, trouble concentrating, generalized anxiety, and even hallucinations can develop. In extreme cases, people may need urgent help to restore a basic sleep pattern before breaking down emotionally. Somniphobia is a lesser-known but deeply debilitating phobia. Treatment usually combines psychotherapy, especially desensitization techniques, and, in some cases, medication to manage anxiety and help ease into sleep safely. Sleep hygiene is also key. Creating a calm environment, avoiding screens before bed, building a routine, and practicing breathing exercises all help prepare the body for rest, without fear. Now imagine if your discomfort wasn't about nightfall, but something as simple as someone's facial hair. Pogonophobia, fear of beards. Yes, beards. For most people, they're just facial hair, sometimes a fashion choice, sometimes a trend. But for someone with pogonophobia, being near a bearded person can trigger extreme discomfort, revulsion, or genuine fear. This phobia can show up in many ways. Some are only triggered by long or unkempt beards, while others feel anxious around any facial hair at all. It might sound over the top, but the psychological impact is very real. There are even reports of people switching seats on public transport, avoiding eye contact, or refusing medical care because the doctor had a beard. The roots of pogonophobia vary. It could stem from a negative childhood experience involving a bearded person, a scare, a threat, or trauma. In other cases, it's tied to unconscious associations between beards and messiness, aggression, or poor hygiene, stereotypes reinforced by media, childhood stories, or cultural norms. This phobia is also sometimes linked to obsessive-compulsive disorders, where facial hair triggers feelings of contamination or disorder. Socially, it can make everyday interactions difficult, from chatting with a coworker to starting a romantic relationship. Treatment follows the same path as other specific phobias. Cognitive behavioral therapy, gradual exposure to the trigger, in this case, beards or images of them, and mental reframing to reinterpret the perceived threat. It may sound uncommon, but for those who live with it, a stranger's beard can be enough to cause a full-blown anxiety attack. And if fearing facial hair sounds odd, how about having a fear of a color? Xanthophobia, fear of the color yellow. It sounds impossible, but yes, there's a specific phobia centered on a color. Xanthophobia is the irrational fear of the color yellow. Not of dangerous yellow objects, but the color itself. Whether on clothes, flowers, packaging, or walls, yellow can trigger intense anxiety. For those with this phobia, it's not about disliking yellow. Just seeing it can cause a racing heart, trembling, sweating, nausea, or even panic attacks. Some cross the street to avoid a yellow car, refuse to enter rooms painted yellow, or even avoid foods like bananas, egg yolks, or corn. The root of xanthophobia isn't entirely clear. It might be linked to traumatic experiences associated with the color, like accidents or distressing events in yellow-themed settings. In other cases, it's part of a broader sensory sensitivity, where certain colors, sounds, or textures spark overwhelming reactions. Yellow's bright, eye-catching nature can be especially triggering for someone with this phobia. For some, even a pastel yellow can be too much, while others react only to neon tones. Treatment involves the usual approaches for phobias: cognitive behavioral therapy, progressive exposure, and sometimes visualization and breathing techniques to help control the automatic fear response. Interestingly, xanthophobia can even impact professional life, like in workplaces where yellow is common in signage, hospitals, or schools. And now, from the fear of colors to something way more modern. What if panic hits every time you're away from your phone? Nomophobia, fear of being without a phone or tech access. It's a familiar scene. You realize you left your phone at home, and suddenly your body goes into full alert mode. Sweaty palms, rapid breathing, a sinking feeling. This isn't just mild annoyance. For those with nomophobia, the idea of being without their phone or disconnected from the internet is enough to cause genuine panic. The term comes from no mobile phone phobia, and it's becoming increasingly common in our digital age. And it's not an exaggeration. Being offline can trigger anxiety attacks, obsessive thoughts, and even physical symptoms like dizziness and heart palpitations. The person feels like they've been cut off from the world, which, to them, is exactly what it feels like. Nomophobia is tied to both emotional and functional dependence on our devices. A phone is no longer just for communication. It holds calendars, contacts, maps, reminders, entertainment, social networks, even work tools. Being without it feels like losing a piece of yourself. It can show up subtly, like compulsively checking your phone every minute or panicking when the battery's low. But in more severe cases, people avoid travel, meetings, or any setting where the signal might drop or the phone has to be off. Not surprisingly, the fear of being unplugged often reveals deeper issues: insecurity, fear of loneliness, low tolerance for waiting, and the constant need for social validation. Treatment involves rebuilding self-esteem and reconnecting with offline habits, like walking without your phone, eating without a screen, or practicing mindfulness. In serious cases, cognitive behavioral therapy can help redefine the person's relationship with technology, giving control back to the individual, not the device. And with that, we wrap up our list of rare but very real phobias. Fears that may seem bizarre at first, but that show how the human mind can respond in unexpected ways to everyday stimuli. Claustrophobia. I know this isn't rare, it's quite common, but a personal opinion for anyone who has had claustrophobia or knows a friend who has and wants to help. I've had severe claustrophobia, and I found cognitive behavioral therapy to be the best way to overcome it. There are various approaches, but gradual exposure was the one I liked best, and that worked for me. Today, you've discovered 6 phobias that are anything but ordinary, from long words to the fear of being without your phone. They prove that fear doesn't always make sense, but it always leaves a mark. If you related to any of these, know you're not alone, and there are ways to manage it. And if you're curious, drop a comment. Which of these phobias surprised you the most? Or do you know someone who has a similar fear? Talking about this stuff helps break the stigma and reminds us we all have our own invisible battles. Check out the other videos on the channel and subscribe. Thank you.